Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I gotta say is, who that? Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Hope you're having a good Friday so far. It's a beautiful day outside here where I'm at. Hopefully it's a beautiful day where you are as well. Before I get started, man, I do want to acknowledge this today. Today is World Down Syndrome Day. So many individuals, battle with Down syndrome. And today is a day where we acknowledge those individuals, raise money for people that deal with Down syndromes, their families, and, also just want to shed some light on that. Want to recognize all of the parents of individuals, children who deal with Down syndrome, those parents that make sure that the kids have what they need and make sure that they live a happy and healthy life. So that's extremely important. So on this day, we wanted to acknowledge World Down Syndrome Day and also read up on the condition and find out ways that you can help. Those things are available to you. World Health Organizations, you can go to their website and be able to check it out. So just want to acknowledge that on today. And as well as the month of March is autism awareness. So definitely want to find out things about that. And, it's always important for us to know about those things. And shouts out to once again to those parents that are making sure that kids have what they need. All right. But shouts out to everybody that's in the chat as well. I want to say thank you. And I hope everybody has had a great week. We've had a lot of different individuals come here on the State of the Saints podcast. And it's always a pleasure to chop it up with a lot of those individuals. But it's just great to be able to have these type of conversations and get different perspectives from individuals that are well respected, on their platforms among Saints fans. So that's extremely important. So just want to make sure that we acknowledge them. And we have some guests coming up next week. I'll keep you all posted. Once again, James Cometa, he'll be on the show on Tuesday. Also, I'm trying to work out, trying to get my friend, my buddy, Aisha Morrison on the show next week as well. So keep it locked. I'll keep you all posted on some of the interviews that are going to be coming up. And hopefully we don't stop there, man. Hopefully we get more opportunities to interview different, well-respected individuals around the world of sports. And I'm going to do my best to make sure I give it to you and bring those individuals to you here on this platform. But today we're going to be discussing the Saints offensive line. We know that the New Orleans Saints have a hole that they need to fill as far as the left guard position. You got some guys that are starters on the offensive line that pretty much kind of solidified themselves. You look at Talese Fuaga, who solidified himself coming into the league last year as a rookie, playing left tackle, very formidable job. I think that a lot of Saints fans are extremely optimistic about what Fuaga can be for the team as far as the left tackle is concerned. Eric McCoy, really good offensive lineman, just dealt with some injuries, but when he is healthy, he is one of the best in the league. Cesar Ruiz, I mean, he has gotten better as time has gone on, but and also Trevor Penning, man, who a lot of people probably thought that he would be left for dead. I'm just being honest. And he emerged and did a really good job and started all games last season. So, but the left guard position is something that the Saints need to look at. I got to tell you, man, it's one of those situations where you got to make sure that you have the offensive line that is going to be able to hold up in order to protect the quarterback, as well as make sure that you have an effective running game as well. And there's a few guys that are still on the streets as of right now. We know that the Saints have scheduled a visit with offensive lineman Dylan Radins. Dylan Radins, 26 years old, very young guy, came from North Dakota State, been with the Tennessee Titans. I got his background here. He was a second-round pick back in 2021 to the Tennessee Titans, played the entire time there. He started in 31 games. He played in 54. So this is one of those positions where, number one, if you was to sign Radins, you get younger, and you also get a guy that has 31 starts in the National Football League. And even though the New Orleans Saints have signed Will Clapp, and we know that Will Clapp, throughout his time when he was with the Saints, he was that offensive lineman that kind of just played across the line and did a very formidable job. Got himself paid with the Los Angeles Chargers for a couple of years. Now he's coming back to the New Orleans Saints, and I think Saints fans are excited about Will Clapp joining the team once again. I mean, him, being with the team in years past, and also has ties to LSU, which a lot of Saints fans and Louisiana people love, because that whole connection. And also what the Saints have been doing, bringing in homegrown, hometown, home state guys, LSU guys to the team. And I just think that it builds up the morale and the confidence among Saints fans. But this offensive line is going to have to get fixed. We know that they need depth. We know that they need the starting left guard. So the question is, do you roll with free agency, or do you go through the draft? I mean, I look at some of these offensive linemen that are going to be available to you, and possibly in those later rounds. But we know that just because an offensive lineman or a player gets drafted late is not an indicator of what type of player they are going to be. We know that the Saints have found diamonds in the rough throughout the past. When it comes to offensive linemen, weren't first round pick guys, right? It's those fourth, fifth round, third round guys like, Teron Armstead, Jari Evans, right? Jeremiah Bushride. Like, these guys have been, really good players, and they weren't picked very high. So you can find a solid offensive lineman and a potential all-pro in those later rounds. I mean, you look at some of these guys on the list, I'm looking, at guys like Josh Simmons, who is probably going to be one of those top guys. But you also have Josh Connerly out of Oregon, is probably going to be one of those later round guys, probably can get maybe the second or the third. One guy that I was really high on was Johnny Cornelius. I really think that he can be that athletic offensive lineman that the Saints need, and he'll be one of those players that's going to be drafted around the second or the third round. I mean, if the Saints want to keep it homegrown, I mean, you got Miles Frage out there, and you got Emory Jones Jr. So there's so many different players that the Saints can go after in the draft that I feel like could bring some stability to that left guard position. It's just a matter of how the Saints want to approach it. Do they want to bring in a guy like Radins, who is a veteran that has NFL experience, or maybe they just want to start from the ground up by drafting a young offensive lineman, or maybe, even bringing in Will Clapp, as a starter, and maybe drafting a guy and eventually maybe he can go into that spot at left guard on a permanent basis. But regardless, they're going to have to figure this offensive line out, and hopefully they get the right collection of players and depth. So what the Saints have been through over the last couple of years, they won't have to go through. So let's see what they do. Let's see if, they're going to maybe sign Radins, or maybe, get a guy in the draft. But regardless, they need to fix that position nonetheless. I'm gonna go ahead and read some of your comments. Not going to be a long podcast today. Mostly, most of what I'm going to be doing is reading your comments. Over the last couple of days, I know we had several guests on the show, and I've read a few questions. But if you rock with the State of the Saints, we're a very interactive podcast, and I want to make sure that I focus the attention on this episode just for a few minutes on the Who Dat Nation and what you all have to say. So make sure that you put your questions and your comments inside of the chat. I will gladly read them. The only thing that I ask is that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'll go ahead and start with 99 Dog. 99 says, sign a veteran and maybe use one of those third round picks to invest in one as well. I agree. I think that you want to bring somebody in that has that experience, rather it's Will Clapp, rather it's Dylan Radins, rather it's someone else. You want somebody to come in with that type of experience because, if the young guy isn't ready to be a starter, you don't have to just thrust them into the lineup and baptize them by fire, so to speak. So I like what you said. I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think that probably is the best way to go, but you definitely want to bring a guy in through the draft that you can add to that offensive line eventually ends up being a starter. And while that player is developing, so you don't have to push him, you can bring in somebody that you can count on that brings stability to the line while that young player is trying to figure it out. Mont says TJ is uniting Who Dat Nation and Saints podcast communities. Well, man, it's all about camaraderie. It's all about rallying around each other, man. I feel like everybody that has a platform, has a podcast, they have something to say, man. And these podcasters, they do an outstanding job. And sometimes I just feel like, and this is no disrespect to anybody out there, I just think that sometimes people fall in love with bells and whistles and presentation and all that kind of stuff there. And sometimes, maybe somebody just like myself, when I was first starting out, like I couldn't even afford a webcam, but they have something to say and they make really good points and they work really hard at what they're trying to do. So no matter what type of platform that you have, like I just think that it takes a lot of confidence to get behind a microphone, get in front of a camera and spill your guts, regardless if you're talking about the Saints or anything else. It's not easy. And it's also not easy to have that level of commitment to be able to build up something. So I'm just happy to be able to have conversations with these individuals. Shouts out to Trace, shouts out to Big Q, shouts out to the legendary Mike Detillier, shouts out to so many others that have come on this show. And hopefully, we can get some more where we can have these conversations and talk and have a good time, because that's what it's all about, man. I mean, I just want to see people just, building up their platforms and having a good time in the process, man. I'm really enjoying this. I really have enjoyed this week, getting to know a few people that I haven't interviewed, like Trace, and also the people that I have interviewed in the past, just kind of, reconnecting with that chemistry here on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to doing more stuff like that in the future, and also just bringing people on the show that can give us a different perspective. So yeah, y'all know how I roll, man. There's no type of like controversy over on this side. It ain't about trying to get somebody caught up. Like anybody that's seen my interview style knows that ain't how I roll. It's about getting individuals together to give you all a perspective that has you all thinking, or even have you maybe finding something that you didn't know. So that I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the work that we put in to make this podcast what it is. Penning left for dead. Great quote. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, we all thought that Trevor Penning wasn't, all that. I mean, look, I've already said that. I've already been on record about that, but I definitely apologize once I seen that he started to improve. And I just think that becomes a lost art in the world of hot takes and podcasting, that people put these these takes out here into the atmosphere, and then when things are proven to be wrong, they never circle back and say, I made a mistake. I will say that. I really thought that there wasn't a redeeming quality about Trevor Penning. Like, I say that strongly, but the guy had me eating crow. I think that moving over to the right tackle position kind of helped him. And I think that maybe with the help of new offensive line coaches and, different philosophy, maybe he can build on what he did last year. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But at least we're not talking about Trevor Penning the way that we were last year. Like, when we were talking about Trevor Penning last year, it was like all hope was gone, like gone. Put this guy out here and the Saints are doomed. But now he has to respect. He still has to build on it, but he has to respect. Who that, TJ? I really enjoyed the show with Big Q yesterday. Yeah, man, Big Q is a really good football mind and a really good person. Like, he's a really good human being, and I enjoy talking to him, like on air and off air. He's a good person, and he's passionate about what he does. And I like, the way that, he's not afraid to give his opinion and his viewpoints about what he feels the state of the Saints is at that particular point, of time, wherever it may be. So I enjoyed that interview. I know so many people that reached out to me say they enjoyed the interview, like yourself, Nathan, and Big Q. He does an amazing job on his platform, the Sports Coma, man. No doubt about that. My brother, I'm new. Where are you based out of? Well, MT, I'm originally from New Orleans. I was born and raised in New Orleans, grew up a Saints fan. But where I am right now, I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where I serve as the general manager at WLGI right now, as well as a contributor for the Sun Belt Conference, mostly focusing on Coastal Carolina. And, I've been doing this podcast since 2018, during the State of the Saints. So my job has me out here in South Carolina, but I'm a lifelong Saints fan and, really enjoy covering the team, talking about the team, and building this platform. So for you being new here, I want to say thank you for being here. I appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully we can keep you here, man. We're on this podcast. I know some people think that this podcast is just about dragging players. It's not. All right. But, we try to keep things pretty even keel over here. We congratulate when it's necessary. But if there's issues or problems, like, we talk about it, and, we stress our thoughts and our views on it. So, but yeah, I'm a New Orleans native, but I live out in South Carolina. Let's see, man, as many picks as we got, we have no choice but to grab 2 or 3 contributors after round 3. Yeah, I mean, the more picks that you have, the better. And I think that this is a really good time for this team to restructure itself and get back to developing players through the draft. I mean, 2017 happened, and we know what that was about, right? It was a collection of players that turned this team around and, blew that window wide open, right? Air was all up in the house, right? That's what they need to go back to, finding the right guys, proven products, not projects, not these guys that, just off the chain when it comes to athleticism tests and all that kind of stuff. Like, who cares, right? Get the guys that you have seen play on a big stage and elevated their game in the process. Not finding guys, and no disrespect to them, but these players that are projects, right? Maybe they are good, and maybe over the course of time they will be good. But the way that things are going in New Orleans, you got to be able to hit the ground running. You want to make sure that you have players out there in case something happens to your starters, because we've seen this happen in years past. You want that player to come in and be able to contribute. Now, he may not be as good as the starter is, but he can go out there and make some noise. And maybe there's a few little things that he needs to work on, but he is good enough to be a solid starter and eventually be that starter for years to come. That's what the Saints need to work on and focus on in this draft. And I think if they do that, along with the coaches that they bring in to develop these players and put them where they need to be, I think the Saints can get back to being a consistent contender every single year if they do that. If not, then we're going to be in the same situation that we have been over the last couple of years and discussing the same issues that we have been discussing over the last couple of years. So hopefully it doesn't have to come to that. No problem, MT. I only gave the information because TJ has already stated it in chat. Yeah, I appreciate that, my dog. I appreciate you, telling them about my background. But yeah, I'm a New Orleans native. Love the Saints, but reside now in Myrtle Beach. Can Will Clapp play left guard position? I think, yeah, he can play left guard position. I believe in Will Clapp. I mean, we've seen Will Clapp play across the offensive line so many times, man. So, I mean, when guys went down, Will Clapp would come in and, he provided some levels of stability. Now, he wasn't better than the starter that he replaced. Like, ironically, the starter that he would come in for when he was hurt was Andres Pete, who is on the thumbnail on today's episode because, Andres Pete is a free agent. And I will ask this question while I'm thinking about it. Would you be okay if the Saints re-sign Andres Pete? I mean, we heard Nathan and we heard Nathan's question read by myself about bringing in a veteran and adding a rookie. Like, would you be okay if the Saints were to bring back Andres Pete and maybe Andres Pete can be that veteran and you draft that player? So I'm just wondering. I know how people feel about Andres Pete, but you can say whatever you want to say about Andres. He was missed last year. Like, he was missed last year when it comes to the offensive line. You may not want to admit it, but there was a point in time where you thought about, man, I would take Andres Pete right now. Like, regardless of how you may feel about it. Now, I feel like Andres Pete is much better than what the Saints had last season. Like, as far as his run blocking, his pass protecting has always been a little bit sketchy, but I mean, he's been pretty solid. And based on where he has played across the offensive line, that's pretty impressive. The fact that he was a left guard and then he'll move to the outside, play left tackle, and that's pretty impressive. So I wouldn't mind Andres Pete coming back, providing that veteran in the starting lineup if you're not too sure about the rookie that you draft to be that number one day one starter. So what if the Saints draft Josh Connerly, let's see, in the second round, and we put him left tackle, move Fuaga to the right tackle, and shift Penny to left guard? I mean, that wouldn't be, necessarily a bad idea. I'm just wondering would the Saints be willing to do that? I think, you moved Trevor too many times. You move from the left to the right. Now you're going to move it to the inside. I don't know, man. I think that you found something there in Trevor Penny being the right tackle. I don't think that he played awful. There were some games where, he did get beat and it was pretty apparent, but I think that you want to build on that momentum that he has, and if he is getting comfortable at that position, you want to keep him there. But it's really up to the New Orleans Saints. But my theory is, well, it's not a theory. The way that I feel, maybe the Saints need to start drafting guys who are going to play the position that they played in college instead of trying to make them into something that they're not. I think that kind of sets the team back. It also sets the player back. So if you got a player that played tackle and was a really good tackle in college and you need a tackle, then I say draft him. If you see a guy who played guard, or maybe it's one of those situations where he probably played tackle, but we know that there are certain measurables that teams look for when it comes to these left tackles, like the arm reach, maybe the hands aren't where they need to be. The arm reach isn't where it needs to be, but there's still something there. Maybe you can slide them into the guard position. But, I want this to be a last resort, like getting guys like, oh, I think we can make him outside linebacker, or we can make him the middle linebacker when that wasn't his wheelhouse. I think the Saints need to get away from that and focus on guys' strengths and be able to utilize those guys' strengths right away. That's what you want to do. Well, if it was me, that's what I would do. Free agency, we don't know if the young buck will be good or not. Yeah, I mean, but that's with anything, Joe. I mean, that's a good point. And I've talked about this before about how we gravitate towards more of a sure thing. And that's just human nature, right? I mean, it's a comfort level. It's like confiding in your best friend, right? You're going to confide in your best friend more than you would just a random stranger that you standing next to at the bus stop, or maybe he's on the opposite side of you while you pumping your gas. Like, you're not going to pull your heart out to a person like that, right? Like, you're going to give, you're going to give that type of grace to your friend, because he's more of a sure thing. You know that you can count on him. You can count on some of these players. That's the reason why when we're having these conversations, when people talk about wide receivers, bringing in Keenan Allen, bringing in Amari Cooper. Why? Because we've seen these guys play at a high level, and we know if the Saints were to add them to the team, then, we know exactly what they're going to bring. But that doesn't mean that the rookie won't do the same thing. It just the great unknown is what we're a little bit, skittish about. That's fair, but you want to give these players an opportunity to make a believer out of you. In the second round back in 2016, the Saints drafted Michael Thomas. If you look at that NFL draft, and as a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and I'll pull that up. Because if you look at where Michael Thomas was drafted, based on like the players that were drafted before him at the same position, yeah, you would say that Michael Thomas ended up, being one of the best, if not the best at that time. I know he was better than some of the wide receivers that were drafted in front of him. So all I'm saying is we didn't know Michael Thomas was going to be that. At the time, the Saints had Brandon Cooks, and Brandon Cooks was the number one guy. He was the guy that everybody was pretty much paying attention to. But Michael Thomas, I can remember where everybody just kind of realized Michael Thomas was for real. It was that game versus the San Francisco 49ers. Drew Brees throws him a pass into the back of the end zone, and he just makes an athletic catch. And that's when everybody just started to say, you know what, man, Michael Thomas, this guy might end up being something special. And he never looked back. But I'm looking back at this draft. Okay, so we look at the first round. Corey Coleman. Out of Baylor was drafted before Michael Thomas. Will Fuller out of Notre Dame was drafted before Michael Thomas. Josh Dotson, he was drafted before Michael Thomas. Laquan Treadwell was drafted before Michael Thomas was. So I'm strolling down. Sterling Shepard was drafted before Michael Thomas was. So you look at all these different wide receivers, and yes, some of these guys are still in the league, but they didn't put forward the type of effort that Michael Thomas did. Michael Thomas made Saints fans kind of buy into him. And that's what a rookie is going to have to do. So I get it. The great unknown sometimes scares us, but sometimes you got to embrace the unknown, because sometimes the unknown might be the best thing for you. Can't just revert back or moonwalk back because this is your comfort zone right here. A lot of people, they stunt their growth because they don't want to get outside their comfort zone. And maybe when you do get out your comfort zone, it may feel a little funny, but sometimes it can be the best thing to happen to you. So I just say give these guys a chance. I'm not saying, don't look at a veteran wide receiver, because I was talking to Q on the last episode. He made a good point. He said bring in a combination of a veteran wide receiver and bring in a young guy as well. That veteran can be a mentor to that young guy. So, but don't be afraid to draft a guy, and maybe you're not familiar with that player's game, but don't just dismiss it because you're not. Try to do your homework and do the research, and also give the player the benefit of the doubt that he can end up being everything that the Saints need him to be if the Saints were to go that route at wide receiver. Art, thank you very much for the $5. Says, rise up, TJ. Even though I hate the Saints and love my Falcons, I still enjoy your show and your insight on the NFL. Can I expect you and Smitty being on your show soon? Oh, man, absolutely, man. Shouts out to Smitty. I mean, I talk to Smitty. Well, I text Smitty at least 2 or 3 times a week, man. That's my guy right there, man. Like, the only thing that really me and Smitty just don't have in common is our love, for our respective team, him with the Falcons and me with the Saints. But, man, he's a really good person, man. That's my guy right there. Definitely going to be collabing with him, throughout the year. I know we already talked about getting together and doing a little bit of a panel like we did last year where the Saints played the Falcons. But, yeah, man, we are definitely going to get Smitty on the show really, really soon, man. I ain't got nothing but love and respect for that brother, man. He's a hardworking guy. I mean, but, we all make mistakes in life, being a Falcon. But that's my dude, man. TJ, I am from Marrero, Louisiana, live in Kentucky. I think the Saints should build in the draft and free agency. Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's the way to go, Kevin. I mean, you said it. I've seen a couple more people inside of the chat have said the same thing. I think that's the way to go. And if you do that, then I think that you can't go wrong. As long as you select the right wide receiver and you bring in a guy that's going to be a mentor like Keenan Allen, that would be a good mentor to whoever is a young wide receiver. I mean, this guy has done it for a very long time. He carries himself like a professional, and nobody really has anything bad to say about him. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Keenan Allen. They always talk about how hard he works and how dedicated he is. So bringing in a player like Keenan Allen to your team, that'll be a plus. I'm just worried if we draft players who left tackle and we shift him to left guard, he doesn't pan out as guard. I don't want Andrews Pete over again. I mean, that's fair. It's fair about the Andrews Pete take. And, yeah, you want to make sure that you're getting it right, Dalton. You want to make sure that you're getting it right, and you don't want to keep on going through the draft process over and over and over again. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. He could potentially help the run defense, pass defense, and pass rush. I believe that you're talking about Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. Yeah, a lot of draft boards project him going as a late first round, early second round pick. If the Saints want to grab a guy like Campbell, I wouldn't be mad at that. Wouldn't be upset with that at all. Think that would be a good move. He's a super athletic guy, and I think with this 3-4 defense that they bringing in, he can definitely add something to it. No problem. M already read that one. Let me go ahead and scroll down a little bit. It says, I apologize, TJ and everyone, but they got me working. Oh, man, that's all right. And that's all right, man. We're just glad you're here. Handle up on your business. Or make a safety play, nickel cornerback. Are we talking about? I don't know, man. I would rather see a safety be able to just kind of just play safety, play their role, and I think that's probably something that we're going to be looking at. Normally in that Dennis Allen defense, you'll probably see that safety kind of playing nickel. We've seen C.J. Gardner-Johnson kind of play that. We also seen years before that P.J. Williams kind of play that safety / nickel guy. So. I think you're probably going to see in a Brandon Staley defense more of a safety playing in their natural habitat. I think that might be a good thing for Tyrann Mathieu because, I think that, he's a special player. And I think that if you let this guy free, I think he's going to make really good decisions in the secondary. And also Justin Reed as well. Hey, y'all. I'm on Jizab for Shizzo. Okay. Let's say I really enjoyed Thursday night. Yeah, I'm glad you did, Jerry. I really enjoyed that show as well. They need a guard in free agency and in the draft. I mean, you got a lot of picks. I mean, you got a lot of picks. You got compensatory picks. You got picks that you traded with other teams to acquire. More of your picks coming from the Washington Commanders. Like, so, Washington Commanders definitely helping out the Saints. No doubt about that, for them to be able to add to their team. But, man, I've done like mock drafts, and I have done a few over the last few weeks. Most of my mock drafts have come from the Saints, the moves that they have made, like the moves that they made around, free agency. Maybe at the beginning, I had the New Orleans Saints taking a particular player, and then they re-signed, Juwan Johnson, or they re-signed, Chase Young. And I'm like, well, I guess I got to kind of revamp this, because now I may have thought that the Saints would have picked this particular player, and with this, with this particular, in this particular round, and now it doesn't pan out that way because, they end up signing or selecting someone else. So let's see. I'm going to try to bring this up, but this is the most recent mock draft that I've done. It's not accounting for a few of the 7-round draft picks that the Saints have had. This is the latest one I've done, but I know that the Saints have, multiple 7-round picks. At this time, they gave their 7-round pick to the Patriots for Devon Gottschall. So that is why, you don't see those other picks on there. So I'll do a mock draft probably today or tomorrow, and I'll go ahead and account for those 2 extra picks. But this is what I had most recently. I had them taken with the 9th pick, Teteroa McMillan. In the 2nd round, I had them taking Jackson Dart. 3rd round, I had them taking Quinshawn Judkins, which I don't feel like he's going to be there. Kyle Kennard, I feel like he would be a really good pick, really good pass rush right there. Jamari Cardwell, a big 340-pound nose. I feel like he would be a really good addition to the New Orleans Saints. Not, the fastest guy in the world, but he's super athletic. Miles Frazier, which a lot of Saints fans are familiar with. I mentioned, maybe bringing in a rookie offensive lineman, going alongside a veteran. And then you have Sebastian Castro, who I just like his leadership qualities. I think that him coming in and joining forces with Tyrann Mathieu, I think that would be a really good match, a really good mentor for him. And, I just look at Castro as a leader, man. He was a leader on that Iowa Hawkeye defense. And I think that he would be a leader on a football team. And I think he will instantly become a fan favorite if he was to be drafted by the Saints, by Saints fans, just the way that he carries himself, man. A lunch pail mentality he has. So those were the players that I selected in my latest mock draft. Once again, I didn't account for the new picks and the new additions that the Saints have had. So I'll make sure I put out a mock draft based on that coming pretty soon. So I'd like to know what you all think about this mock draft as well as your own. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have done mock drafts, what you felt the Saints needed to draft with certain picks. If you would like, you can put it in the comments. Who would you like to see the Saints select at number 9? To me, Teteroa McMillan, that would definitely be a really good addition for the Saints. But him running at 4.4, I don't know if he's going to be there. I don't know if he's going to be there. You got the Raiders that need a wide receiver. You got the Patriots that need a wide receiver. So I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there or not. Let's see. Dart, just as good as Spencer Rattler, a project. Yeah, he may be a project, but, if he's there and he's available, you don't have a definitive starter. So until you figure that out, you got to keep on, trying. I don't think that the New Orleans Saints, if everybody is healthy, I can't see the Saints picking in the top 3, to be able to get one of these top quarterbacks that's coming out of college in 2026. I don't see that. I don't. I would still draft a tight end even after signing Juwan Inconsistent Johnson. Well, I tell you what, that's a 3-year contract, and I don't think the Saints are looking at Juwan Johnson as inconsistent. You're not going to pay a guy that type of money if you felt like he wasn't going to be a contributor. And maybe the Saints are looking at Kellen Moore to be able to get the best out of Juwan Johnson. But I don't think with that selection, they definitely, I won't say definitely, but I think it's highly unlikely that they draft a tight end with the 9th pick. That would be insane. That mock draft would be a miss for me. Not enough defense. Well, look, that's fair, and I guess that I look at it this way, right? There's no right or wrong about this, and it's fair, for you to question this mock draft. I mean, it's fair because people can make an argument like, oh, it just needs to be defensive heavy, right? Defensively heavy draft, right? Because you got Brandon Staley, you got a new defensive scheme that's coming in. So you need the guys to be able to be a part of this and be comfortable in that 3-4. I get it. Like, I understand it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Look, if you want to do a draft where it's like defensively heavy, you're well within your rights. And I don't feel like nobody will make an argument for you. But you also got to look at the fact that the Saints offense has not really been that good. And they need to be able to get playmakers on the offensive side of football, especially if you are. Derek Carr is a really good starting quarterback in the National Football League, but it's not going to be Derek Carr that is going to lead you like by himself to where you need to be. He is not going to be able to put the team on his back. Now, if he has a role and you give him the players to roll with, then he'll be able to find success. But you got to be able to put some players on that offensive side of football. It's been a minute, man, it's been a minute since we talked about the New Orleans Saints being like one of those top offensive juggernauts. It's been a minute. And I just think that it is time for us to start having these post-Sean Payton, post-Drew Brees conversations, because a lot of us, still feeling like, oh, that's the team that's here, and it's not. Like, you're 4 seasons removed from that. So you got to figure out how you're going to be able to fix this offense. But defensively, I can understand your point. If you want to go defensive, I ain't about to argue with that. Do you think drafting Kenneth Grant 9th pick is a reach? Yeah, I really do. Yeah, I think so. I think that he's a talented guy. He's probably going to end up like being I think he's probably going to end up like being like a 2nd round pick or something like that, late 1st round. But yeah, I think it'll be a little bit of a reach, but I just think that the Saints, they're in a really good position. I mean, you got 8 teams picking before you. So you're going to get a top 10 player that's in the draft. So that's a plus. My Raiders need a running back, receiver, cornerback, and need quite a bit, right? I mean, linebackers, right? You don't have if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they got Splain or Diablo anymore. I think Diablo now plays for the Falcons. So I think you need some help at the linebacker position. I mean, you got Geno Smith, but who is he throwing it to? Jacoby Meyer? I mean, Brock Bowers, yeah, he's definitely a really good tight end, but you also need that number 1 guy, right? So to me, I think that the Raiders are going to be looking at a guy like Tetairoa McMillan. I really do. Like that's the only team to me that makes me nervous about the Saints possibly not getting McMillan is the Raiders, because Geno Smith is your quarterback. Geno Smith does have experience of throwing passes to a big target. Like, he had DK Metcalf out in Seattle. And if you bring in McMillan, I think that would be, his number 1 guy. You align McMillan with Brock Bowers, and then you got Jacoby Myers who makes plays in his own right. Man, I mean, this is a deep draft for running backs, Golden. So even if you don't get Ashton Genty or you don't get Omarion Hampton, you still got a plethora of running backs that can be a number one guy for your team. So that's a plus. But the wide receiver position, I think they probably end up maybe trying to go after McMillan. That's the only team that I feel like would stand in the way of the Saints drafting Teteroy McMillan if they decide to do that. Like he would be there for them if they decided they wanted to roll with him or not. If they do draft a quarterback, does that mean Haener is gone? I think everybody just kind of looking at Jake Haener as maybe a casualty, of this whole regime change. But yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think if they draft a quarterback, he probably would be the odd man out. Jalen Walker, Will Johnson, Ahmad Membu, and those are my number 9. That none of those are bad selections at all. Yeah, I would say Michael Williams. I would put him in that too. I would also put James Pierce Jr. in there as well. My biggest issue about Pierce is we know that the New Orleans Saints don't really, go after guys that have like baggage like that, right? I mean, that's the only thing that I would see. Like if he didn't have baggage or what people would consider baggage, I think that he probably would be the top pick for the Saints. But he's a high motor guy. I think that he will instantly so that'll be a tough decision for the Saints. If James Pierce is available, like are you going to try to draft him? I haven't heard much, but I think that might be something that they might end up like shying away from because some teams don't want that type of baggage with a player. They feel like maybe it may affect their locker room like rather sooner than later. I think we need a nose tackle. I don't think Mason Graham will play nose tackle, even he'll be gone before the Saints pick. Yeah, Mason Graham will be gone. Mason Graham will be gone probably in the first top 5 picks. I can't see him being there. If he's there, I don't care what we talk about. Even McMillan. I know y'all, this may sound crazy to some of y'all, but even if Teteroy McMillan is there, you draft Mason Graham. Like you draft Mason Graham. Like I would choose Mason Graham over any player that is, available to the Saints at 9. If he's there, like I don't care what you had in your pocket, draft this dude. Like you draft Mason Graham. You draft him and you make sure that he is on your football team. Geno is a short-term solution. We still need our franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, I don't think this upcoming draft has. Yeah, Golden. I mean, he is a short-term solution, but I don't think Pete Carroll is looking at it that way. I think that Pete Carroll trusts him. I think that they have a rapport, and we know that Pete Carroll has a way of getting the best out of players and making them play better than a lot of people would indicate that player would play. But you don't, even if that's the case, Golden, you don't go into the season like, man, Geno Smith, he's just a bridge guy. So, man, we ain't worried about no wide receiver right now. No, you bring in that wide receiver to catch those passes from Geno. And when the time presents itself, like if a quarterback is available in 2026 and maybe you're in a spot or in a position that you can actually draft that quarterback, then do it. But you build your team around, trying to be as successful as possible. So, yeah, he may be a short-term solution, but the Raiders aren't, going to just phone it in and be like, oh, Geno Smith, the bridge, and we don't have to put anything around him. But the Raiders, they need a number 1 receiver, man. They need a quarterback. I think that the bridge was addressed, with Geno, like you said, but they need somebody that he got to throw the ball to on the outside, like Brock Bowers and Teteroy McMillan. Man, that'd be a dangerous combination right there. And if he is a bridge guy, let's just say next year you end up getting your quarterback, that's a start. And you also can get your starting running back in later round. So Raiders in a really good position offensively. Steve Smith didn't have T-Mac as his number one wide receiver. He put Golden as the first receiver. Yeah, I heard that. And I have nothing but respect for Steve Smith. I mean, he even, to give him more credibility, I can remember a couple of years ago, people were talking about Quentin Johnston, being that top wide receiver. And Steve Smith came out and said, I don't see number one receiver in him. And we've seen that Quentin Johnston has had some ups and downs when it comes to playing a wide receiver position. The Chargers kind of looked at him as that number one guy, allowing Keenan Allen to walk. A lot of these pass catchers that they had, Austin Eckler, who was catching the ball out of backfield, running between the tackles, he's gone. So they pretty much said to Quentin Johnston, this is your baby now. Like we giving you the keys to the car, right? I mean, so he has, Steve Smith, it is documented that he did question Quentin Johnston coming out, and Quentin Johnston did end up like dropping a little bit in the NFL draft. People expected him to go higher than what he did coming out of TCU. So, I mean, what he says has credibility, but I just think that McMillan is going to be a really good wide receiver. I think he's really going to be good in the National Football League. I think that he'll end up being a number one guy. I think that he can end up being really special if he goes to a team that understands him and be able to put him in a position to make plays offensively. Some people don't realize that Carr won't have us picking top 10, but not good enough to make the postseason. That's my whole point. Like, what are we actually doing? I just think that the overall goal is for teams to win a championship, no matter how bad you may have been the year before. Like, the goal is to try to win as many games as possible and get to the ultimate goal. And I just think that when things continue to present itself and makes things feel like your goals are insurmountable, there are ways where, there's no way that those goals can be attained the way that the team is structured, and you still try to make it seem like, hey, all we need to do is this, that, and I don't know. I just look at what Derek Carr is, what he is. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not consistently good enough to lead you where you need to go. So if you know that, everybody knows that. I don't understand why you got to keep on doubling down, tripling down on him. Now, from a contractual standpoint, I understand the Saints' position. I think we all do, right? Restructuring his deal was best for business, what was best for the Saints. But at the end of the day, we know that it is not going to be sustainable success just on the back of Derek Carr alone. Going to have to put some things around him. So if you know that, I just feel like you just need to adjust accordingly. And let's see, Derek Carr won't even play 10 games this season, just my guess. Well, as much as, we, criticize Derek Carr, I would like to see him play every game if he's the starting quarterback. I don't want to see guys get hurt. I don't care what your position is, my feelings, or I feel like, oh man, he left a little bit out there. I don't want to see a player get hurt. I don't want to see them get benched due to them being hurt. I'd rather the coach make the right decision by saying, I don't know, we may need to go in a different direction. I don't want to see a guy getting carted off the field, and that's the reason why he's no. I mean, but all I know is you got to build a team around Derek Carr if you're going to get where you need to be. Nola and them dudes going to pass on a pass rush just so we don't get Tet. I can see T-Mac makes Bryce a lot better. Yeah, I mean, that's another team, Carolina. But I wonder if Carolina may end up getting a cornerback or something, go alongside J.C. Horn. Take a few more, then we'll go ahead and get up out of here. It says, if Carr doesn't show up to OTAs, do you think it's a sign or a signal, a time to move on? Yeah, I do. I think there would be, but I'd be shocked if he don't show up to OTAs. I mean, the reason why he wouldn't show up to OTAs is like the Saints pretty much told him what they was gonna do or something. Like he just like know that they gonna wait till like June 1st or something like that, and then try to cut him or something. I don't know. I think he'll show up. Garbage is consistently inconsistent. I think that's the biggest knock on him as a quarterback. But like he's talented, man. He just needs a supporting cast. Need people around him. Like he needs a running game that's going to possibly be the catalyst 1 week. Probably need a defense that can generate some turnovers to be the catalyst the next week. And maybe in week 3, he'll probably throw for 300 yards, but he's not going to consistently give you those type of numbers. And that's okay. As long as you understand what type of quarterback he is. I'm not wishing injury on Carr, but history rhymes. I get you. That, I'm just saying it from my perspective, Jack. I get what you're saying. Like you're saying, like over the past few years, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I get that, but what I'm saying is, I don't want to see him, miss 10 games. Even though what we've seen, he's going to miss some time because history has shown like he's gotten hurt. Do you think KM could make Derek Carr good enough to make the postseason? Do I think Kellen Moore can make him good enough? I think Kellen Moore is a talented, offensive-minded coach. I think only time will tell if he's a good head coach. But I see Derek Carr as being a 12-year guy, and he's been in the league 12 years. This isn't somebody we're talking about that's been in the league for 3 or 2 years. Like this, you have a large enough sample size to know what and who Derek Carr is as a quarterback. So I don't think that a coach can come in and change a guy who has been in the league for 12 seasons and turn him into Joe Montana or flirting with an MVP. Let's see, TJ, it's the Carr conundrum. No decent person wants to see him hurt, yet the more games he played, the more potential wins since he's a serviceable enough vet. But that means lower draft pick. Yeah, Eugene. I mean, I think that's the frustration of Saints fans because it's like, what you're seeing is not going to get you where you ultimately want to go, which is to a deep run in the playoffs and going to the Super Bowl. Like if he has a high completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and it's like week 5, you're like, okay, but what you going to do next week? We know that more than likely those numbers won't resemble it. Like the completion percentage will, because we know that, he going to check it down, right? And the completion percentage, might be at 70, 75%, but you might throw for 178 yards in the process, So, when you're doing stuff like that, it's not consistent. So it is what it is, man. And finally, it says, I think the Saints should draft a middle linebacker. Yeah, I mean, plenty of draft picks, plenty of ways that they can approach it. Plenty in the draft that can help them become a better football team. That's for sure. Like all those draft picks, man, you got to be able to capitalize on them. So maybe a middle linebacker will be one of the selections that they decide to go with. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Shouts out to everybody at home, at work, wherever you are right now on this Friday where we're recording this. Well, not recording it. We're actually live streaming it. I hope you all have a good weekend. We'll be back next week. We got some guests on the show. Got James Scametta coming up on Tuesday. Like I said, my good friend Aisha Morrison, she covers the Dallas Cowboys, going to have her on the show just to talk a little bit about Kellen Moore and the NFC East. That will be a collaboration of Gumbo Pot as well as State of the Saints. So keep it live where we talk New Orleans Saints. Hope you all enjoyed this week as much as I enjoyed giving it to you all with the great guests and all the great content. Till next time, all I got to say is Who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I gotta say is, who dat?